While we wait for that, joining me now for more on all of this, Guy Benson, political editor of townhall.com and a Fox News contributor, Bernard Whitman, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and CEO of Whitman Insight Strategies. So, Guy, I know that probably the bigger fireworks could be the press conference that's going to happen before the actual energy speech because of the fact that President Obama really, crossed that line today and took a big hit on Trump. Do you think that, I know he's going to get asked the question, do you think Trump's going to respond to him?
Yes. In one word, yes. And that's because Donald Trump, as he says time and time again, sometimes more disingenuously than others, that he's a counterpuncher. And in this case, the President of the United States violated sort of that unspoken bipartisan rule, inserted himself into the campaign overseas by really hitting Donald Trump, calling him ignorant and other things. And I suspect that Donald Trump will not just take that lying down, and we'll probably hear about it, whether it's in this press conference or in a Twitter screed at some point. President Obama, I'm sure, is anticipating some incoming. All
right. Bernard, would you have advised the president to have done this? And maybe you would have advised him to have done it earlier. I don't know. But is he doing it to try and help Hillary Clinton?
I think he's doing it because he's speaking truth to the American people. I mean, the idea that we should be somehow offended that President Obama broke some bipartisan rule of politics. Donald Trump has broken every single rule of decorum in politics that exists, and he continues to break them on a day-to-day basis. But I do want to congratulate Donald Trump for clinching the Republican nomination. The GOP now has exactly the candidate they deserve, and I am offering an olive branch to Guy Benson to come on board the Hillary Clinton campaign, because I know, Guy, what a strong Trump supporter you are, so you must be delighted at today's events.
Well, Hillary Clinton's had a few problems of her own, which we're going to get to in just a moment. But, Guy, I don't know. You want to respond to that?
Sure. I mean, I've been very critical of Donald Trump. The people have spoken on the Republican side. He's the nominee for the Republican Party. I don't plan on voting for him. I absolutely do not plan on voting for Hillary Clinton, who's a statist, she's a liar, and she's corrupt.
While we're waiting for Donald Trump with that tee-up, Guy, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Hillary Clinton, because that IG report, Bernard, that came out yesterday was not good news for her. Brian Fallon, her spokesperson, went on damage control last night and continuing today. But that is not good news. And now even the Washington Post was calling for the FBI to try to wrap up its investigation into her dealings with her private server before the nomination process at the convention, so that the American people will actually know whether or not she's going to be charged. Bernard?
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree with the Washington Post in that I think it's time for this investigation to be over. It's been going on for months and months and months. I think let's just get it out there. I think Hillary Clinton would say the exact same thing. But don't believe the hype. If you actually look at the details of the report says exactly what Hillary Clinton has been saying all along. Number one, there's been absolutely no precedence for a Secretary of State to use a state.gov account. In fact, the first Secretary of State to use a Department of State email account was John Kerry. Also, most importantly, it couldn't find a single piece of evidence to suggest there was a security breach or a data leak. And in fact, she released 55,000 pages of emails that the National Archives said covers her from a disclosure standpoint.
But the one thing that you're missing when you talk about that is the fact that none of those other Secretary of States actually had private servers in their home. Right. And they all agreed to be interviewed by the Inspector General, but Hillary Clinton and her aides did not. Guy?
Yeah, she refused to cooperate after saying that she was fully cooperative, which is not true. One of many lies that she's told about her email situation. One of the biggest is everything that I did was permitted and allowed. What the IG report from her own State Department, appointed by Barack Obama, by the way, what they concluded in this report was, no, it was not permitted. And if she had asked for permission, she would have been denied that permission. And as for this thing about whether or not there was successful hacks against her unsecure private system sitting in her basement somewhere, we have the Romanian hacker who says that he hacked in. We have Bob Gates, the former Secretary of Defense, saying it's almost inevitable that foreign intelligence agencies from Iran, Russia, China, and elsewhere got into those emails. The former CIA acting director said the exact same thing. Hillary Clinton has been dishonest at every single stage of this imbroglio since it came to light that she set up this improper, against the rules, unsecure, national security compromising email server. There's no spinning. I applaud Bernard for trying. There's no spinning those facts.
Well, let me give him another shot at this as we see there's now activity going on as we wait Donald Trump to come to the podium for this press conference in Bismarck, North Dakota. Bernard, you sort of talked about the good points of the IG 85-page report for Hillary Clinton, but there were also repeated warnings to her throughout this report that she should get on board and have a state.gov email so that she, would not be prone to hacking. So how do you spin your way around that?
Look, the fact is, if I were Secretary of State, I would look to all the previous Secretaries of State and figure out what they did. Not a single one used them. And dozens of people, as the OIG report points out, knew about this. So, I mean, the idea that somehow that she was out there, cavalier and nobody knew it, she was doing all this in secret, is just not actually the case.
Why didn't she do an interview then with the Inspector General? Why was she the only last 5 Secretary of States who said no?
I can't speak to that. She didn't ask me. If I had told her whether she should have or not, I would have actually encouraged her to do so. But what she did say, and I think she said it a little too late, but she said it loud and clear repeatedly for the last few months, this was a huge mistake, which I agree it was. But to rise to the level of what Guy is purporting it to be is just not the case. I think if we had known that there was a breach, we would have heard about it by now. And the fact that the Republicans continue to come back to this shows how weakly they are prepared to actually campaign.
This is not the
This is not a right-wing conspiracy again, is it, Guy?
Thank you. Nope. It's the Obama administration's Inspector General, a nonpartisan watchdog at the State Department, unanimously confirmed by a Democratic Senate. To blame this on the Republicans is silly. And by the way, you keep saying, oh, well, none of the other secretaries of state did this. It's true. None of them set up an unsecure server in their basement and trafficked thousands of classified emails through it, including dozens of top secret emails. That is one person who did that. That is Hillary Rodham Clinton.
And that's the one fact that Bernard does not want us to continue to talk about, but that is the one thing that sets her apart from those other secretaries of state. All right, Guy and Bernard, stand by if you will. I want to deal in Alex Conant, Senator Marco Rubio's former campaign communications director, and he's live in studio with me today. It's very interesting to see how this has all come to be now. I mean, there was so much talk about the fact, Alex, that there might be a contested convention and that your candidate, Marco Rubio, is still holding on to his delegates. John Kasich still holding on to his delegates. Ted Cruz doing the same. But today it appears that Donald Trump has gone over the top with the magic number. So let's bring back Alex Conant, Senator Marco Rubio's former campaign communications director, Bernard Whitman, former pollster for President Bill Clinton, and CEO of Whitman Insight Strategies. We should also mention that he made news saying that he'll have a press conference at Trump Towers in New York City Tuesday morning, where he's going to give out the list of veterans organizations that will benefit from that fundraiser that he had a couple of months ago when he decided to not participate in a debate. Bernard, he called the Hillary Clinton IG report that came out yesterday devastating for her. That she has been skirting on the edge all the time, and that it was bad judgment. What do you think about that?
Well, look, I think that Hillary Clinton has acknowledged that the email, using the private email server, was a mistake. But I mean, this is just a rehash of old news that we've heard again and again and again. And what I think is actually amazing to me, that in the 21st century, you have Donald Trump, who's about to give a major speech on energy. He does not believe in science. He's a climate change denier. He thinks it's a hoax. And you saw there, he's doubling down on coal. I thought this was like the 1940s, 1950s. Coal is not the future here. Renewable energy is the future.
It is to people who've lost their jobs.
But this, at the end of the day, the American economy needs to transform. Hillary Clinton put out an energy policy a year ago where she said, you know what, we're going to have 500 million solar panels in place that are going to be able to power all the homes within 10 years of her being in office.
Who's going to pay for that, Bernard? I mean, we just heard Donald Trump say that wind and solar need subsidies to survive and a 30-year payback. So that's problematic, and I don't really want to get too much into the weeds on that particular issue today. We're going to hear his speech on energy later on. You're the communications guys, so damage control is what it's all about. Alex and Bernard, thank you so much for staying with us during the press conference. Let's deal in now Chris Stirewalt.